Good morning, it's Jeff and Wilma here at Budrum, and we're on part 2 of our field trip number 4. So the field trip number 4 was where we I had a small American fowl brood strategy, and if you saw, actually I'm just killing a small hive beetle here. If you saw that upload, you'd remember that that what I did was I recognised this hive had AFB. I removed all the brood and put the brood into another hive with AFB to let that brood emerge and strengthen that hive up. And I left one frame of brood in this box, which this box has been scorched, and the lid's been scorched, and with only one frame of brood, I left that there for 24 hours until the hive got established in that new box. And then I took that frame of brood out and only left them with one frame of foundation and about 4 or 5 frames of empty frames. And I had them all stacked together. So at that particular time, I'm just going to mention, there's quite a few small hive beetle running around. Now this is where I use my bread and butter knife. Just squash them wherever I get a chance. You only get a few every time you squash them, but you just more or less, I can't help myself. So what have I got here? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So I had the one frame of foundation, and at that time it was pretty well fully drawn, and one of the empty frames was about a third. Would you reckon about a third built, Wilma? Or
yeah.
It was less than half anyway. That was after 2 days. So we're now about 8 or 9 days later, aren't we? About 8 or 9 or 10 days later. So
there's another beetle.
Oh right, okay.
Just in the corner.
Oh yeah, I'll get him after. Now, I'm just giving plenty of smoke here. So I'm just going to see what's happening here. Now, there's another beetle there. So, like I mentioned, now these frames are designed that if you put them up close together, that's the exact spacings that the bees do in the wild. And in this particular case, by using one frame of foundation, and they start on that, then they'll build each one parallel with that. So you don't get any sort of crisscross. So, and what the bees are going to do, because they've got no other worker comb in the hive, they're going to build as all worker comb until they've got enough workers. Then they'll start building drone comb. So, so while they're building workers, you might as well just use the empty frames. And now this is, if you remember, this was completely empty, this one was. Now that's the outside frame. So they're built on, that one's half done. I'm just looking for the queen while we're doing this. So when you're doing this, you've got to do much the same as you do with a top bar hive, because you've got no support at the bottom. So if it's got honey in it particularly, you just got to be careful that the weight doesn't pull over on you. So what I'm going to do is do the same as the reverse to what I did last time, is put them all against this side. Now that the bees have drawn the comb, it's not so important to jam them close together. You can see bees doing the dance there, but I'll just have a look see if I can find the queen. Oh, there she is there. I've got a good, we can get a good shot of this queen here, won't it? Yeah, can you zoom in on where my finger is? You got that? No.
Yeah.
Oh.
Sorry, I'm just concentrating on.
Oh yeah, so you can see her there.
just zoomed a bit too fast. Yeah, she's beautiful. Busy little bee.
So she's doing her job. So with the last time we did this, I couldn't even see any eggs. So it was a bit late in the afternoon. I couldn't see any eggs, but they may have been there. So what we got here is, I think this may be the one that was started. This is the one that was started on that last video, and so that's completely built. Now what the bees have done, the reason why they don't continue it all the way down to the bottom is because they're leaving themselves room for ventilation.
That's not wired though, is it?
Pardon?
That one's not.
No, this one's not wired, no.
So the bees have done all that in that way themselves.
Yeah, this is the one that there was free of foundation.
Yes.
On that last video that was about 1/3 built.
Yes.
And this is the one that was, this was the foundation frame, and it's got everything on there. There's a real science lesson in this frame, because you've got around the top section here you've got honey, although it hasn't been capped. You've got sealed brood, you've got newly laid eggs that haven't even turned into a grub. You've got grubs, just a day old, right up to grubs that are getting sealed over, and so they can complete their next stage of their metamorphosis. Because it's early in the morning and there's heaps of blossom out, you can see a lot of the bees doing their bee dance, which is the language of the bees. And what the bees are doing there is they're showing other bees where the honey is. So what they do is they do a waggle, and the bees that are witnessing that waggle interpret how far they've got to go to get the honey. They interpret what angle from the sun they've got to travel, and they get a taste of the honey if they require it, and they'll also get a indication of the sugar content of that honey. Now, based on the information received and interpreted by the onlooker, if that onlooker decides to embark on that journey, it only takes enough honey to do a one-way trip. So if it falls short, if it doesn't interpret that information correctly, and it'll die. It'll just run out of fuel and die. So it would be inefficient for the bees to take enough fuel to do a two-way trip when they want to bring a payload of honey back to the hive. And the other thing about the bee dance, and even the bee that did the bee dance, before it embarks on the next journey, if it sees a more impressive dance, where there's a more vigorous dance with a higher sugar content, and particularly if it's a lot closer, it'll embark on that journey, and it'll forget about the honey that it just came from and go to the new source, which could be a better source. And so they're continually upgrading if that's possible. So that's very efficient the way they do things. So I'm just going to put this back, and so what I'm going to do is, because they've filled up all these empty frames, I'm going to, and while they're still building worker comb, I'm going to put some more empty frames in there. So how are we going for time, Wilma?
I'm not quite sure. I didn't put the time.
So anyway, what I'm going to do is, if the time runs out, it runs out. So what I want to say is, because I had the frames hard up against each other, they built the honeycomb in the middle of the frame. They didn't do that for my benefit or Wilma's benefit. They did that for their benefit. So if I had to